mwami. Roho yangu haimpendi umundu kama Elija. Kunyasi akili kweli mwanefu.
Kusema kweli umtumia anaenda kichwa sana.
What if we involve the police? Juu sasa imekuwa riski.
Wacha kwanza nikabiliana nalo. Sawa?
And by the way, how is Josh?
Hata amesahau mimi ni sister yake.
Haki nilisikia kilichokufanyikia. Najua inashtua.
Amekuwa akinitishia. Unajua kuna dhambi nilifanya na akajua.
Na naomba msamaha kwa niaba yake. Msamee pastor.
Wengine watasema niko na kichaa.
From Ithokwe to Nairobi, Kisumu to Kajiado, this is Prime Edition coming to you live from Broadcasting House in Nairobi, Kenya. And here are our top stories this hour.
On this Mashujaa Day, in recognition of his extraordinary contribution and enduring legacy, the government and the people of Kenya inscribe Raila Odinga's name among the foremost of our heroes under the public seal of the Republic of Kenya.
His legacy will forever live. Late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga posthumously conferred the highest honors ever to be given to a civilian as Kenya celebrates 2025 Mashujaa Day. Ukambani will not be left behind. President William Ruto promises Eastern Region to receive its fair share of development as he calls for unity. And it was dance and masterpiece showcase of performance as Kitui entertained Kenya in the 2025 Mashujaa Day celebrations. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the broadcast. Our socials at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook and YouTube. Our sign language expert tonight is Susan Thuku. I am Muchuma Odim. My colleague Tom Boyer is away this evening. We begin with our lead story. The late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has been conferred the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart, Kenya's highest civilian honor 5 days after his death. President William Ruto, presiding over the Mashujaa Day celebrations, said the award recognizes Raila's lifelong commitment to nation building and the bottomless debt of gratitude owed to him. Ruto mourned Raila as an irreplaceable giant who relentlessly pushed Kenya towards higher ideals. JJ Curia begins our coverage tonight with this report.
As the country continues to mark the 7 days of mourning, President Ruto used the Mashujaa Day platform to honor the late Odim leader.
Observe a moment of silence in honor and celebration of his remarkable life and service to our great country, our continent, and to humanity.
A minute of silence, followed by a glowing tribute from the president and visiting dignitaries.
I pay tribute to the memory of the illustrious departed and express my deep compassion to President Ruto, to his family, and to the people of Kenya. May his soul rest in peace.
And even at this time, as we continue to mourn the departure of our former Prime Minister, one of the greatest Kenyans to ever walk on our soil, we remember many more, those who have gone before us for selflessly protecting our sovereignty, defending our dignity.
In a solemn moment, Ruto announced the posthumous conferment of a Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart to Raila Odinga.
Greatness and nobility are never achieved by settling for the ordinary or the comfortable. They are seized by those who dare to push the frontiers of possibility, by those who refuse to be confined by what is, but instead reach boldly for what could be.
The president also took aim at critics of a broad-based government, accusing them of missing the bigger picture.
When some saw the opportunity to bring down their competitors, even if it meant bringing down the country, Baba chose the stability of Kenya. For Agwambo, the specter of a failed state was too grave to contemplate.
He rallied Kenyans to unite beyond ethnic lines, calling it the truest way to honor Raila's legacy.
He tirelessly reminded leaders and citizens alike that our overarching identity is not defined by tribe, region, or creed, but by the sacred bond of being Kenyan.
In line with what he described as Raila's vision for inclusive development, Ruto pledged to reach out to more leaders in what is seen as an olive branch to Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to forge a development-conscious coalition.
I have consulted with my former boss, the fourth president of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. I have held discussions with majority of members of parliament, and they are here. I have consulted with many governors and grassroots leaders from every corner of the nation. And I will continue to engage because Kenya's progress must never be a partisan pursuit. It is a national inclusive mission.
John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has unveiled an ambitious economic transformation blueprint, setting the stage for what he calls Kenya's next phase of development, one built on food security, industrial power, and modern infrastructure. Speaking during this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations at Ithokwe Stadium in Kitui County, the head of state said his administration will move beyond political divisions to deliver tangible change across every region of the country. Ben Chumba reports.
Thousands gathered at Ithokwe Stadium in Kitui County for a celebration of the country's heroes and heroines of independent Kenya as the country marked this year's Mashujaa Day. It is here that the president announced the bold and ambitious plan for Kenya's next chapter.
I have arrived at the clear conclusion that although we have made commendable progress in stabilizing the nation over the last 3 years, the time has come to take the country to the next level. And to do so, we must act decisively on at least 3 national priorities.
President William Ruto outlined 3 national priorities: food security, industrialization, and infrastructure, describing them as the foundation of a self-reliant, prosperous Kenya.
We have now set an ambitious target to build at least 50 mega dams across Kenya and to bring at least 2 million acres under irrigation. Let me emphasize that this is not a far-fetched dream. It is a necessity that must be realized within the next decade.
On food security, the president said Kenya must end its dependence on imports that drain the economy of over 500 billion shillings every year.
We must become not only a food secure nation, but also a major exporter of farm produce in the coming years. We have many markets that we have negotiated. We have the American markets under ACOA. We have the Chinese market that is now open for us. We have the European market that we have negotiated under the Economic Partnership Agreement. We have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area market of 1.4 billion that we can export to.
The president also announced a major push for value addition and manufacturing anchored on special economic zones in Dongo Kundu, Naivasha and Vipingo, and industrial parks in all 47 counties.
To transform Kenya into a prosperous, job-creating, wealthy nation, we must become a country that makes things, not merely buys or imports them. A country that exports finished products, not raw materials. A country where industries absorb labor, spur innovation, and expand wealth across every region. We are unwavering in our vision that everything Kenya produces must be processed in Kenya.
With energy as the driver of this growth, Ruto pledged to quadruple Kenya's power generation capacity from 2,300 to 10,000 megawatts, tapping into hydro, geothermal, solar, wind and nuclear sources.
Already a lot of research is going on the development of the first nuclear energy plant in Kenya, in Siaya County. With abundant energy, we shall power factories, light every home, and drive Kenya to become the industrial hub of East Africa and the continent.
The president also highlighted massive infrastructure projects, including plans to dual over 1,000 kilometers of highway, construct 10,000 kilometers of new tarmac roads, and extend the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and onward to Malaba. As President William Ruto calls for action beyond politics, his ambitious plan for food security, industrial growth and infrastructure will now be judged by delivery and not promises. Reporting for Prime Edition from Ithokwe Stadium in Kitui, I'm Ben Chumba.
From Ruto's vision for Kenya to awards, President Dr. William Ruto has honored 184 heroes and heroines during this year's Mashujaa Day celebration in Kitui County. While conferring the honors at Kitui Mini State Lodge, the president said the individuals who are grouped in 14 categories were recognized for their exemplary contributions and sacrifices to the advancement of this nation. Here is that report.
He was among the founding members of the Peace Education Company.
President Dr. William Ruto conferred honors to 184 individuals in this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations. The head of state saying the individuals were identified from 14 categories for their immense and selfless sacrifices to the development of this country. Among those honored include Ambassador Jonathan Ojeda from Nigeria and Elias Jama for their contribution to peacemaking in the country.
In promoting peace in institutions and peace through schooling system. And that's one of the most important things, because inculcating peace in the minds of the youngsters is much more stronger and sustainable than doing it through adults. That is why I'm being honored by the president.
Following my active participation in promoting sustainable peace across the globe. As you may recall that earlier this year, we had the 14th edition of the Pan-African Leadership Symposium and Honors, which was bordered on consolidating peaceful coexistence in Africa.
The National Heroes Council Chief Executive Officer Charles Wambia said the individuals were selected after careful vetting, and the benchmark was the role they have played in the nation building.
Each year we have a program that we honor somebody outside our country to make sure that the honors of Mashujaas have an enlightenment as nationalism. This time, 2 years we honored 2 people from America, but for the first time we also had an honor to have somebody from Nigeria. He's here as a person who's dealing with a lot of leadership, governance matters. And also we are looking at promoting the values under which National Leaders Councils are promoting, the leadership aspect of Africa.
In other developments, President William Ruto has vowed to spearhead development projects to catalyze the economic and social development of Ukambani region. Speaking during the Mashujaa Day celebrations at Ithokwe Stadium in Kitui, Ruto pledged to visit the region for a working tour in 2 weeks' time. At the same time, he scoffed at those he says are perpetuating partisan politics in the region that has hampered development over the years. He called on the region to remain united and ditch tribal leaders. Our reporter Joseph Ohungo has the details.
Days after his tour of the Ukambani region was suspended owing to the death of Raila Odinga, President William Ruto has given a new date for his development tour of the region during his Mashujaa Day speech.
Wiki mbili zijazo mimi nitakuwa hapa. Mimi nitakuwa hapa. Na nitakuwa hapa makusudi kwa sababu Kitui, Ukambani kwa siku nyingi imewachwa nyuma.
Ruto urged residents to ignore politicians opposing ongoing development projects in the county, which he says is the main cause for the region lagging behind in development.
Maneno ya zamani ya kusema sijui bomwe, sijui betwe, Ukambani kabaki nyuma, haitatendeka tena. Nasikia hata kuna wengine wanajaribu kueneza siasa ndogo ati maskini jeuri. Iko maskini jeuri ya kufanya nini?
At the same time, the head of state announced the rollout of 50 mega water projects to irrigate 2 million acres of land that will boost the country's food security. President Ruto also promised to complete stalled projects in Ukambani, including construction of Thwake Dam.
Tumepata pesa bilioni 9 ya kukamilisha hiyo dam ya Thwake. By April, May next year, that dam will be complete na itasaidia watu wa Kitui, watu wa Makueni na watu wa Machakos.
He further revealed plans to revamp all roads and bridges, ordering implementing ministries and government agencies to expedite the process. He assured Kitui residents of a planned rural electrification project targeting to have at least 16,000 households connected to the power grid, which is estimated to cost 2.2 billion shillings.
Between now and February next year, hizo manyumba 16,000 tutakuwa tumeziunganisha stima, na baadaye tutakubaliana, baada ya hiyo awamu tutapanga tena vile tutahakikisha kwamba stima inafika kwa manyumba zenu na tunaondoa giza ndio shetani ashindwe.
He also disclosed that in 2 weeks' time, the government will start releasing funds to youth groups through the empowerment programs. The president further emphasized the government's commitment to universal health coverage, assuring residents that the government has allocated funds to pay hospital directly, ensuring that all Kenyans can access treatment and vaccination services without financial hardship.
Watu 405 wamejisajili kwa watu 1,100,000, kumaanisha 36% ya watu wa Kitui wamejiandikisha. Mimi nataka niwaulize wananchi wa Kitui, kujiandikisha ni bure.
President Ruto appealed to leaders to unite for the country's prosperity. Joseph Wahungu for Prime Edition.
Asanteni sana, ninawapenda sana.
15 minutes past the top of the hour. Coming up, the unsung heroes, the cabinet's news segment, and sports, besides much more. Stay with us.
Kili
Kilifi County, muda umefika. Ni wakati wa sauti zenu kusikika na vizazi kuzungumza kwa uwazi. KBC Channel 1 inakuletea kipindi cha kipekee, Transgenerational Conversation. Jukwaa la vijana na wazee kuketi pamoja, kusikilizana, kuulizana maswali na kujifunza kutoka kwa kila kizazi. Safari hii tunatua kaunti ya Kilifi. Kumbuka, ni Alhamisi tarehe 23 mwezi huu kuanzia saa 1:30 jioni, moja kwa moja kutoka ukumbi wa Kibaoni Social Hall. Usikose kushiriki Transgenerational Conversation, sauti ya kila kizazi. Mazungumzo haya yameletwa kwenu na KBC kwa ushirikiano na NCIC, Korea International Cooperation Agency na UNDP.
We shine light on one of the most under-discussed and very urgent issues, especially in women's health. This is maternal mortality. Why are women still dying from preventable causes during pregnancy and childbirth?
The solutions that we create for women must start with the women themselves. It is the wearer of the shoe who knows where it pinches most.
One of the key causes of maternal mortality is obstetric hemorrhage, bleeding.
And I think the leadership of this country needs to wake up and really focus on what is killing women. And they can only do that by listening.
If only would put in money, if only would invest strengthening our supply chain, would ensure that our governance is airtight, then this country will not be able to speak about maternal mortality very quickly in the near future.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Continue talking to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Quick acknowledgements. Collins Wekesa, you're saying taking the celebrations to Ukambani is a good step. And Emmanuel Mchocho watching KBC Channel 1 from the county of Bungoma. Mkili watching KBC from the county of Taita Taveta. Now, let's move on to other developments, but still with the Mashujaa Day. Thousands of guests who turned up for this year's Mashujaa Day in Kitui County's Ithokwe Stadia were treated to a performance befitting of the day. Entertainment from both young and old Ukambani hitmakers and upcoming musicians electrified the crowds. One of the country's fallen sons, Raila Amolo Odinga, who was laid to rest Sunday, was also honored by artists here for his contribution to multi-party democracy and his key role in the creation of the 2010 Constitution. Kasichana Masha was there and filed this report.
Kitui County played host to the 2025 Mashujaa Day celebration. As early as 6 a.m., celebrants in their thousands made their way to Ithokwe Stadium to mark the day. Security was beefed up. Nothing was left to chance. Draped in the national flag with neatly stitched dresses and blouses, others had the national flag flyers, whereas some were pampered with umbrellas with the colors of the national flag to spare them from the scorching sun. The 10,000 capacity stadium almost full to capacity by 7:53 a.m., but hundreds of celebrants were still stuck outside. At exactly 9:50, the chief guest, President William Ruto, arrived, led by the presidential escort, signaling the official start of the celebration. In observance of the protocol, the president inspected the guard of honor before heading to the presidential dais. Later, guests were treated to an exquisite march of guard of honors led by the Kenya Defence Forces, the National Police Service, Kenya Coast Guard Services, among others. This session culminated with a fly-past by KDF aircraft, with one bearing the Happy Mashujaa Day banner. Entertainment then kicked off. The fallen son of Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga, was also honored with this special tribute. And then there was this, and then there was this. Patriotic songs by local artists, among them Bosco Mulwa, Stella Mengele, electrified the crowd and invited dignitaries. Dancers also showcased their talents the true Kamba way, and to crown the day was this song, which was the departed Raila Odinga's favorite.
The way of Mexico, the sunshine daily on the mountaintop. I took a trip on a sailing ship. When I reached Jamaica, I made a stop, but I am.
From Kitui to the capital, a section of Nairobi residents marked Mashujaa Day with festivities, visiting recreational facilities within the city. Uhuru Park was a beehive of activity as families gathered to mark the day amid calls to leaders to emulate the late Raila Odinga and put country first before self. Our reporter Timothy Kipnusu visited various recreational spots and paints a picture of how Mashujaa Day was marked.
Monday mid-morning at Uhuru Park grounds in Nairobi. The park was a beehive of activity as families gathered here to mark Mashujaa Day. Children had an opportunity to engage in recreational activities. From bouncing castles to boat riding, not forgetting the merry-go-round. Others had a chance to skate.
Leo nimekuja hapa kucelebrate Mashujaa Day. Napenda skating, nimekuja kujifunza kidogo.
These are some of the activities taking place at the public park. A walk along the Nairobi Central Business District, just a few kilometers from the public park. There was minimal activity as is symbolic of national holidays, though a few traders opted to work the holiday notwithstanding. We will then walk down to Michuki Park. The park was also abuzz with activities. We found a group of Kenyans who were at the park for a team-building exercise. A section of those who engaged to share their thoughts on this year's Mashujaa Day paid tribute to the late Raila Odinga and had a message for those in leadership.
Ukweli kwamba kama mashujaa kama kina Raila, serikali imetuambia kuwapa state function ya kuwazika, lakini walipokuwa hai sio kama walikuwa wanashughulika nao. Tumeelewa sasa wakiwapea state function kuwazika na kuwapa heri njema kwenda kulala salama, lakini walipokuwa wazima sio kama walipata nao hivyo.
Kwa muda mwingi sana mashujaa wengi usaulika sana, ndio inafika mahali watu au mashujaa watakapopata shida ndio wanakumbukwa. Mimi ningependa kwamba serikali ya kwamba ikumbuke hao mashujaa kama bado wangali hai.
Katika jambo hilo la kuwaenzi mashujaa wetu, naona pia tumelegea kidogo, tunawasherekea wakati wamekufa wengine. Niko napendekeza pia wale ambao wako wafikiwe, wasaidiwe, na wakishasaidiwa pia yale walikuwa wanapigania sana kama yale Raila Amolo Odinga alikuwa anapigania, hao mashujaa wote yakiwekwa, yakifuatiliwa na yakifatwa, tutakuwa tumeshukuru kama nchi ya Kenya.
Additionally, they decried what they say is high cost of living, challenging the government to address this.
Tuangalie kimaisha vile hali imekuwa ngumu, at least watengeneze uchumi ya Kenya imekuwa ngumu zaidi.
This as they termed the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga as their shujaa.
Shujaa yangu ni Raila Odinga, the late Raila Odinga mwenye ametuacha, na namshukuru sana, ama nashukuru kazi yake amekuja kutusaidia, ametufaidia sana.
Shujaa wangu ni ule mmoja tu, Raila Amolo Odinga. Namsherekea sana hata kama ameenda, bado ni shujaa. He fought for democracy. I love that guy to the end. Even to eternity, Raila is still my shujaa.
Ningesherekea shujaa wetu kutoka kaunti la Garissa ambaye ni Adan Duale. Vile ameweza kupigania tukapata uwanja wa mpira kubwa hapo kwa town, na ameweza kufanya watoto wengi wasome shule.
Even as Kenyans celebrate this important day in the calendar, it is important and to note that this particular ground has much significance in the Kenyan history. Bearing in mind this is where the liberation took place, and of course the promulgation of the Constitution, as well as the swearing in of the people's president. Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Let's now take you to the counties. Mashujaa Day celebrations across the country were marked in honor of the late former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. The late Raila was celebrated as a nationalist and the country's liberator, with politicians urged to emulate. Here is that report.
Mashujaa Day celebrations across various counties abandoned the norm on such a day and instead focused on celebrating the late Raila Odinga. In Kitengela town of Kajiado County, a moment of silence was observed in honor of the late Odim leader. Speakers shared fond memories of Raila.
Na hata wale labda ambaye hawakujionyesha hadharani wamekuwa wakimpenda kwa msukumo wake wa taifa kuwa wa haki na ukweli, kupigania haki ya wanyonge.
Similar scenes were witnessed in West Pokot, where apart from giving status update on security issues, area leaders paid tribute to the late Odinga.
Tumesema leo tunaiga mambo ya Raila Amolo Odinga ambaye alikuwa ni mtu wa kufanya kazi na hata wale walikuwa wanashindana pamoja.
Elsewhere in Siaya, Area County Commissioner Norbert Komora took a swipe at public servants for skipping National Day celebrations.
It's not their day here for them, to stay at home and watch television, but they're supposed to be here. If they don't want to work for the government within Siaya government, then they can kindly tender their resignations. All civil servants who never showed up, I want to receive a communication as to why they didn't show up.
Meanwhile, low turnout characterized the Mashujaa Day celebrations held at Miritini World Bank grounds in Jomvuku constituency, Mombasa County. During the celebrations, Mombasa County Commissioner Mohamed Noor noted that the highest honors bestowed upon the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga by the President was well deserved.
Namepatie CGH. Ile mtu ako na CGH peke yake ni Rais William Ruto na Uhuru, kwa sababu alikuwa rais. Namepatie ile hona ile kubwa kabisa.
Inaongozwa na CPL.
And in Mandera, leaders called on residents to uphold peace, unity and mutual respect across all communities.
Tushirikiane, muharibu akiharibu, mtoe huyo muharibu. Msifiche muharibu, mnasema ni kilani ile ingine imetuchokoza.
Tulisema mara mingi mkono ya serikali ni mrefu, lakini siku hizi haitoki kwa town. We want mkono ya serikali iende mpaka msituni.
In Gathundia Stadium in Nyandarua County, residents of Kanjuiri Ridge Ward that recently witnessed a surge of livestock theft were urged to maintain peace and unity.
Na sisi kama Nyandarua tunatoa maziwa, lakini yeye anaona nyama, anakatakata ng'ombe vibaya, anaenda kuuza. Hiyo ni shida yetu.
We celebrate Olympic champion the late Samuel Wanjiru, world cross country champion John Gugi, steeplechase champion Julius Karaoke, marathon champion Catherine Dereva.
Kirinyaga County Commissioner Hussein Alaso used the celebration to send a stern warning to reckless Mirror drivers using the Embu Makutano Highway over increased accidents.
Tutaweka msako kali sana ya polisi katika hii barabara kuhakikisha ya kwamba hao madereva tutawashika na kuwapeleka kotini. Maana tumepoteza watu wengi sana kwa hii barabara kwa sababu ya recklessness ya hao waendeshaji wa gari mra.
Elsewhere in Kisii County, politics took center stage as Governor Simba Arati urged President William Ruto to consider joining the Orange Democratic Movement ahead of the 2027 general elections.
If you came back to Odim, definitely we'll have you as our flag bearer. I can assure you that in 2027, we will have our candidate, ODM candidate, as a presidential candidate.
Finally, Nakuru County, calls against female genital mutilation dominated the celebrations.
Ukipata mama, because ukitaidiwa tu lazima ukae mahali. Ujue wewe kama ni bibi ya mzee, hiyo mzee tutashika hata yeye. Tutawashika mkiwa wawili na ule anafanya hiyo kazi, because hatuwezi kuendelea na hayo maisha.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
From county speeches to the impact, the rotation of hosting national celebrations out of Nairobi, which kicked off in 2016, has not only seen counties reap economic benefit, but also long-lasting development programs. In Kitwe County, the host of the 2025 Mashujaa Day celebrations at 10,000 capacity Ithokwe Stadia was constructed for the national event, and even a mini state lodge set up in the area. Area Governor Julius Malombe terming the celebration a milestone in opening up the county to the rest of Kenya. Here is that report.
In 2015, Kenya announced a bold move to decentralize the hosting of national events from the capital, Nairobi. The aim then, according to the government, was to spur socio-economic growth, celebrate the country's cultural diversity, and strengthen national unity.
I took a trip on a sailing ship.
These celebrations not only transform how citizens experience the country's patriotic events, but also a plus for economy and development of the hosting counties. Kitui Governor Julius Malombe says the celebrations in the county have led to a number of notable development projects. Key among them is the construction of the 10,000 capacity Ithokwe Stadium that hosted the event, the rehabilitation of Ithokwe Airstrip, and the expansion of rural electrification program to cover 750 households, among other development programs.
Your Excellency, there are other projects that are currently being undertaken and others earmarked for implementation by your government. These include markets. 2 have been completed, one at Kakongo in Mwingi West and another one in Kamuwongo in Mwingi North, and 10 others which have been proposed for construction.
Malombe says the noble opportunity to host the celebration was a demonstration of national inclusivity, where all parts of Kenya feel equal.
This is indicative of your responsiveness as a national leader who is committed to inclusive service delivery and development in all parts of our country.
The governor highlighting a catalogue of development programs that accompanied the hosting of the national event to indicate the honor of being accorded an opportunity to hold the national event. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
And to a story we highlighted for you before we took a break. Today, the nation stood united in celebrating Mashujaa Day, honoring the brave men and women who fought for the freedoms we enjoy, as well as modern-day Shujaas who have contributed to the nation's development. And as the country honored them, we share the story of 2 centenarian Mau Mau veterans, Muriuki Waigwa, aged 105, and Cyrus Nyota, aged 100. Our reporter, Aaron Marie, gives us details of their untold story as they reflect on the struggle for independence and a promise that they say is yet to be fully fulfilled.
The Aberdare and Mount Kenya forest were once the theater of war for Kenya's liberation. Deep within these thickets, a determined generation waged a bloody struggle against colonial rule. But for the few surviving veterans, the echoes of gunfire have been replaced by what they describe as the silence of neglect. At 105 years, Mzee Muriuki Waigwa is a living testament of the country's struggle. He fought alongside legends like Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, survived capture, and endured several brutal years in British detention camps. In that fight, it was announced that the forest don't belong to them. It was taken away from them. When that was said, people start speaking among themselves. How have they taken the land from us? There was a man called Wayaki who was a prophet and had prophesied that there will be white people who will come, and he continued to talk about it to the people so that they could be aware. People started refusing everything, leading to their detainment. Waigwa's fate was sealed by a black card in a colonial screening process, a label for radicals. He was jailed and forced to dig trenches to block his fellow fighters. Today, he is wholly dependent on his family and a government stipend for the elderly. I am asking we be given back our things. We be paid because of our forest and being given back the ownership. His stories mirrors that of Mzee Cyrus Nyota. His role in the struggle for independence was spiritual.
his oath of secrecy binding. He was arrested in Nairobi, labeled black, and detained for years in Langata and on Mageta Highland.
We were always sent by God, that you are not allowed to eat something that belongs to someone else, and you should eat something that belongs to you, because the colonizers tortured us for 3 years, and I didn't know if I'll ever go back home or not.
While their story remains untold, historians have challenged county governments to step in and honor those heroes. And so, as the nation celebrates these founding fathers, watch from the sidelines. They hold no titles or wealth, only the quiet conviction that their sacrifice was necessary. Their greatest and perhaps only reward remains a free Kenya.
Kenya was named Kenya Colony in 1920 because it was a colony that was previously colonized.
Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Aaron Marie.
Energy sector, it is the one driving the economy. Our aeroplane, without jet, we cannot fly. Our industry and manufacturing cannot work without petroleum. Our transport sector, the same, even the energy sector. So in this case, the gain is that it adds value to the economy, our revenue. It also gives opportunity for our people who are working. The one in the Kenya Petroleum and also EPRA. At the same time, also the retailers. They are quite a number. We have got about over 5,000 petrol stations. And each one of them they employ about 5 to 10 staff. That's already a big number, of opportunity for credit. And these people whom actually we are employing are also the ones who are feeding their own families. African household is about 5. If you double that one, it's almost 5 times than what it is. So in that case, petroleum is actually the heart, it's a driving. The pricing we have been controlling. Last year, the first 2 years was actually a lot of turbulence. But as from last year, there has been stability. And we are making sure that at least we'll be able to control, to make sure the Kenya gets the benefit from it. Kawi, ustawi, na ushujaa, na watakia heri sikukuu ya mashujaa wa Wanakenya.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Now, on to our favorite news segment for Monday. Few figures have shaped Kenya's political journey, quite like Raila Odinga, a man of immense charisma, courage, and conviction, hailed by many as Baba, the father of modern democracy. He dedicated his life to the struggle for freedom, justice, and unity. Tonight, we look back at the extraordinary life and enduring legacy of a man whose name became synonymous with Kenya's long and often turbulent road to democracy.
Raila Amolo Odinga was born on January 7, 1945 in Maseno, Kisumu district, to Mary Juma Odinga and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. His father served as the first vice president of Kenya under President Jomo Kenyatta. He studied in East Germany, graduating from the Technical University of Marburg with a degree of mechanical engineering before joining the University of Nairobi as a lecturer and later serving at the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Odinga's route to the cabinet and beyond began when he joined elective politics following the reintroduction of multi-party democracy in 1992. He was a central figure in the clamor for the return of multi-party politics, dubbed Kenya's second liberation. Between 1982 and 1988, Raila Odinga was jailed for treason. He was again detained in July 1990 alongside Kenneth Matiba and Charles Rubier for calling for the return of multi-party politics. After his release in June 1991, fearing for his life, he fled to Norway. In February 1992, he returned home and joined the Forum for Restoration of Democracy, led by his father Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. When Ford later split into Ford Kenya under Jaramogi and Ford Asili under Matiba, Raila became Ford Kenya's Deputy Director of Elections. That same year, he was elected Member of Parliament for Langata constituency in Nairobi, a seat he would retain in subsequent elections in 1997, 2002 and 2007. In his first presidential attempt in 1997, Raila Odinga finished third after President Daniel Moi and Democratic Party candidate Mwai Kibaki. In March 2002, his National Development Party merged with KANU to form the new KANU, a union sealed when Moi appointed Raila and other NDP leaders to cabinet posts. Odinga became Minister for Energy in June 2001. However, in October 2002, he resigned, taking with him his NDP brigade and several KANU stalwarts, including Kalonzo Musyoka, Joseph Kamotho, and Saitoti. The group formed the Rainbow Movement, which later merged with Mwai Kibaki's National Alliance Party of Kenya to form the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC. In a moment, that would change Kenya's political destiny. Odinga stood before a charged crowd and declared Kibaki Tosha, endorsing Mwai Kibaki as the opposition's presidential candidate. His rallying call united the opposition and ended the era of KANU dominance. Odinga campaigned tirelessly for Kibaki, especially after a car accident left the presidential hopeful hospitalized. His efforts helped deliver a resounding victory, with Kibaki winning 67% of the total vote. A pre-election memorandum of understanding between Kibaki's NAC and Odinga's Liberal Democratic Party was said to have promised Raila the post of Prime Minister and LDP half of the cabinet positions. However, that promise was never fulfilled. The perceived betrayal led to the tensions within government, culminating in an open rift between President Kibaki and Odinga. A key point of contention was the proposed new constitution, which Odinga opposed, arguing that it consolidated presidential powers. He led the no campaign against the draft constitution in the 2005 referendum, defeating the government side with 57% of the vote. President Kibaki resigned by dissolving the cabinet on November 23, 2005. When President Kibaki reconstituted his cabinet, Raila and his LDP allies were excluded. He responded by forming the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, which became a formidable political force. By August 2007, ODM had split into two factions, Odinga leading ODM and Kalonzo Musyoka leading ODM Kenya. At ODM's National Delegates Conference in September 2007, held at the Moi International Sports Centre, Kasarani, Odinga won the presidential nomination with 2,656 votes ahead of Musalia Mudavadi and William Ruto. Mudavadi was named his running mate. The December 2007 elections ended in controversy when the Electoral Commission declared Kibaki the winner by a margin of about 232,000 votes. ODM rejected the results, sparking weeks of violence that claimed over 1,300 lives and displaced more than 250,000 people. The crisis drew international attention, and under the mediation of former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, a power-sharing deal was reached, creating a coalition government. Raila Odinga became Kenya's second Prime Minister, the first being Jomo Kenyatta. Later, his relationship with then Agriculture Minister William Ruto and other Kalenjin leaders deteriorated over the International Criminal Court investigation into the 2007-2008 post-election violence. In 2013, under Kenya's new constitution, Odinga again contested the presidency, this time under the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, uniting his ODM with Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper and Wetangula's Ford Kenya with Kalonzo Musyoka as his running mate. His opponents, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, faced ICC charges but were nonetheless nominated by the Jubilee coalition. In the March 4, 2013 election, Kenyatta garnered 6,173,433 votes to Odinga's 5,340,546 votes. Odinga challenged the results in the Supreme Court, citing massive failures of the biometric voter registration kits. However, Chief Justice William Mutunga dismissed additional evidence filed late, and the court upheld Kenyatta's victory on March 30, 2013. Kenyatta's inauguration on 9 April 2013 marked the end of Odinga's tenure as Prime Minister. On April 27, 2017, Odinga was endorsed by the National Super Alliance to contest the presidency once more, with Musyoka again as his running mate. When the August 8, 2017 election results declared Kenyatta the winner with 54% of the vote against Odinga 43%, Odinga petitioned the Supreme Court. In a historic ruling, Chief Justice David Maraga annulled the results, citing irregularities and illegalities. However, Odinga withdrew from the repeat election scheduled for October 26th, citing lack of reforms at the IEBC. Kenyatta won the rerun, and tensions remained high as Odinga symbolically saw himself in as the people's president at Uhuru Park, an act that led to the deportation of his ally Miguna Miguna. Then came the unexpected truce. On March 9, 2018, Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta emerged from Harambee House and announced the handshake, a peace pact that redefined Kenya's political landscape. Odinga was later appointed the African Union Commission's High Representative for Infrastructure Development. His collaboration with Uhuru deepened through the Azimio La Umoja coalition, with the former president endorsing him as the coalition's presidential flag bearer in 2022. In May 2022, Odinga named Martha Karua as his running mate, the first woman ever to hold that position in a major Kenyan political alliance. Despite a spirited campaign, he lost the August 9, 2022 election to William Ruto. Subsequently, he worked with President Ruto in a broad-based government that included several of his longtime allies. In 2025, he made a bid for the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Despite strong regional support, he lost to Djibouti's Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. On Wednesday, October 15, 2025, he passed away while receiving medical treatment in India. Throughout his illustrious political career, Raila Odinga was known by many affectionate nicknames: Baba the Father, Agwambo the Act of God, Nyundo the Hammer, Tinga the Tractor, symbol of his former NDP party, and Mtu wa Vitendawili, the Man of Riddles. He leaves behind a legacy etched in Kenya's political history, one defined by resilience, sacrifice, and an unrelenting quest for justice, equality, and unity for all. He was widely regarded as a master strategist and mass mobilizer, a leader capable of drawing immense crowds to his rallies and connecting deeply with the ordinary citizen. Raila Amolo Odinga will be remembered for his unwavering fight for democratic freedoms, human rights, and political inclusion. Jackie Wambiro, The Cabinet.
We shine light on one of the most under-discussed and very urgent issues, especially in women's health. This is maternal mortality.
The solutions that we create for women must start with the women themselves. It is the wearer of the shoe who knows where it pinches most.
One of the key causes of maternal mortality is obstetric hemorrhage, bleeding.
Lea Premium Flour, nurturing the world. Available in a store near you.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome. Welcome to Prime Edition Sports. The National Women's Soccer Team Harambee Starlets are putting final touches to their preparations ahead of their upcoming two-legged 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against the Gambia. The Starlets will begin their campaign at the Nyayo National Stadium on Friday before traveling away for the second leg to be played on Tuesday next week. Coach Beldine Odemba is expected to play a strong young squad for the two fixtures as Kenya aims to make a return to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations for the first time since their debut appearance in 2016. The 16th edition of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations will be played from the 17th of March to the 3rd of April in Morocco. And Kenya's Sitas Onyango defeated Abel Alemu of Ethiopia in their 48-kilogram division. That's a flyweight bout as the Africa Zone 3 Boxing Championship began at the Kasarani Gymnasium. Fast-paced Onyango was quick in his punches as he earned more points in the 3-round bout in front of the home crowd. About 120 boxers from 9 countries are competing in the championship that will come to an end on Friday this week. Kenya is being represented by 35 boxers in the Zone 3 Championship that had initially attracted 12 nations before Burundi, Somalia and the Central African Republic withdrew from the competition. The position of Vice Chairperson of Cricket Kenya remains vacant once again after the elections process to fill that position failed to kick off at the Ruaraka Sports Club in Nairobi. The process failed after the Cricket Kenya Council and voters supporting aspirant David Obuya were locked out of the venue.
They came early, hoping to finally put the process of electing the Vice Chairperson of Cricket Kenya behind them. But on arrival at Ruaraka Sports Club, they found the gates locked, guarded by men in black, with clear instructions not to let the majority of the voters and the Cricket Kenya Council inside the voting venue.
We are here to resolve the issues that have been bedeviling the Federation for the last couple of months. But unfortunately, the meeting did not take off. The officers came from the government and from the ICC and from SCA, Africa Cricket Association, they were here. But the meeting has not taken off because there were fake lists which had been prepared. 52 members of the delegation or the delegates were locked out of the gate.
And while they stayed outside for more than 6 hours, a private meeting was ongoing inside the venue, mainly composed of members opposing the election of David Obuya while supporting opponent Bhavesh Gohil. They were finally allowed into the venue late afternoon, only to be informed that there will be no special meeting and no elections.
We are very happy that this meeting did not take off because it would the decisions that would have been taken in this meeting would have been taken by people who are not even supposed to have been in the meeting. They are not delegates, and therefore they cannot make decisions for Cricket Kenya.
Cricket Kenya has been split into two since the launch of the Cricket Kenya T20 League that is supposed to begin this November. One faction is against the league that has attracted 6 teams comprising mostly local players, while the other side wants the league to go on.
For my members, let's stay focused. Cricketers to fika mashinani, and that's our focus, and we are not tiring, and we'll come back again. Even if they postponed it for 10 times when they're looking for numbers, furthermore, we'll get more numbers as opposed to losing numbers.
Questions now remain on why the council and voters supporting aspirant David Obuya were locked out of the Ruaraka Sports Club for more than 6 hours, why there is opposition to the playing of the Cricket Kenya T20 League, and why there is opposition to having the position of the vice chairperson filled, with the elections now having been called off more than twice.
No, head count, there are 20.
Now, Kenya's incarcerated youth finished third at the 5th FIDE International Chess Championship for prisoners held online at their respective countries' correctional facilities. The Kenyan youth finished behind Ghana and Malawi, who are the top two African countries in the tournament.
Kenyan prisoners once again took to the global stage for the 5th FIDE Online Chess Championship for prisoners, held under the Chess for Freedom initiative by the World Chess Federation. Kenyan incarcerated youths managed to finish third in the event that brought together 135 teams from 57 countries, each proving that even behind bars, the human mind remains boundless. Kenya competed in 2 categories, the youth category Group 3, which drew players from the Kamiti Youth Corrective Training Center, and the women's category Group 3, drawn from Kamai Boston Institution for Girls. The Kenyan players displayed remarkable resilience, discipline and unwavering commitment throughout the tournament, with the Kenyan youth beating Georgia 3-1 before losing to highly experienced Ghana and Malawi. In the women's category, the Kamai Boston Institution for Girls went head-to-head with formidable opponents from Georgia, Ukraine, Latvia, Romania and Slovenia. Despite the challenging lineup, the team demonstrated exceptional grit and focus, with their participation marking a powerful step for young women in correctional facilities who are breaking barriers and rewriting narratives through chess. This year's championship came just after the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Dr. Salome Biko, Principal Secretary for Correctional Services, and Chess Kenya, aiming to expand access to chess education across Kenya's correctional facilities, introducing structured training programs, mentorship opportunities, and ongoing learning resources throughout the year. Phyllis Ngigi, Global Outreach Director at the Gift of Chess, noted that the Kenyan teams needed consistent access to training, mentorship and online chess platforms so as to enhance their performance in upcoming championships.
Enias Zabiri scored 2 goals as he led Morocco to a 2-0 win over Argentina in the final of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup for men in Chile. Morocco became the first African country after Ghana in 2009 to win the Under-20 Men's FIFA World Cup.
Record 6-time world champions at this level, Argentina face Morocco, who are featuring in their first final.
Striker Yassir Zabiri scored twice as Morocco won their first Under-20 World Cup title, with a 2-0 victory over Argentina.
It's going to be Zabiri! Lift off for Morocco! Well, it was so well hit, it might as well just have been a penalty. Otman Mama stands it up brilliantly, 2-0. Oh, what an evening this could be for Morocco.
Zabiri scored in the 12th and 29th minutes of the final to help Morocco become the first African nation to win the Under-20 title since Ghana in 2009. Morocco topped their group against Spain, Brazil and Mexico, and then advanced over South Korea, the United States and France in the knockout stages. It was the first loss in the tournament for Argentina, who are aiming to win their 7th title.
Looking cross there, and the header straight at Gomes. Ramirez. And there it is. What a story. It's Morocco's cup. It's Africa's cup.
And that's a sport for tonight. My name is Dan Wahome. Have a great one. See you as the week progresses. Our focus mainly this week, boxing and the National Cross Country Championships on Saturday. Back to Irene.
Thank you, Daniel Wahome, for the sports bit. Thank you for your feedback on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Quick acknowledgements, and especially on the story on President William Ruto's vision for Kenya, where the president is unveiling an economic transformation blueprint for Kenya, political reactions per se. Have a quick acknowledgements. Wycliffe Kasuti watching KBC Channel 1 from Bungoma, Sylvia Ambey from Kikuyu, Zablon Nyakundi from Kisii, Walesto Were from Kitui. Thank you so much. Continue talking to us on all our social media platforms. For more details on ad items and many more, do log on to www.kbc.co.ke. Our sign language expert tonight is Susan Thuku. I am Muchuma Odim. Good night. God bless you.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sasa kwa star 419 hash uko na game mpya. Tushinde spin corner. Simply spin. Kisha